Lemon Amiga presents a playtime video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, welcome to the second part of our top 10 games on the Amiga you've probably never even heard about. And we've reached section 5, which is the graphic adventures. Our first is Aqua, so let's boot that up and check that game out. So Aqua was designed by Emerald Games, or Emerald Imaging, who were two brothers who created this on an all 60 powered Amiga 1200, and this was certainly a fan project. So let's check out that intro. So this was Emerald Imaging's first and only game on the Amiga. It was released in 2001 and very reminiscent of Myst, which was created in 1993. So quite a difference in time there, but it's a very Myst-esque game. And here you are an adventurer. You acquire a submarine and you must solve tasks to complete your adventure. So inside our craft we find a locker, and in here you'll find a note, and by observing this you'll find coordinates actually to Wales, and by entering these coordinates into the Navicom it should be possible to find those whales and find the next part of your quest. So now that's fully understood, here's some whales. Very atmospheric to add to the atmosphere of this game. And we also have a research journal, and in here you'll find a handy hint as to how to use that Navi computer. Remember to key in horizontal and vertical positions and depth, and that relates to the top box that says 5, 8 and 500. So let's get underway. So by pushing that joystick forward, that will instantly take us to our position that we need. And so what position do we need? Let's have a look. Add 2 to H and 4 to V for the first whale. So 2 to H, 4 to V, and off we go. If that works, we should pick up 1 sonar ping on our radar. And then on to the next quest. Add 100 to D and 5 to H. 100 to D, depth, and 5 to H. And that will relate to the map you've seen in the logbook. So I haven't quite fathomed out how to get very far in this game, and the graphics of the Portal do belie the fact that the Amiga was capable of much more than that. But I'm sure the graphics of the later parts of the game are enhanced by ray-traced graphics and visuals, and you really cannot fault the atmosphere in this game, and the sound effects really add to the atmosphere. So even though I haven't got very far, I have to say I certainly give this game a top rating, particularly if you like Myst, that kind of thing. So I certainly feel Kelly and Wayne Samel have certainly done a good job on this game, and if you're into that, check it out. But you could argue that this is a 3D adventure, so for the rest of this section, this category, we'll take a look at point and click adventures. All of these games have in common that they use the mouse, so they are all mouse driven, as opposed to Codename Hell Squad, which was a joystick driven game, and On Escape, that kind of thing. So let's quit the Aqua experience and move on to our next game, our next point and clicker, and in this case it happens to be Magic Island. So let's check out that intro played on an old 60. Taking a look at the game from the start, we can play the intro and take a look at the credits. And starting the game, we find our hero is actually named Lemon Amiga, very apt, and we can also give him various stats on the RPG theme. And clicking on start there, we can start the game. And so we start this RPG adventure outside of a tavern, and taking a look inside there, we can see the graphics are well drawn and the music is atmospheric, and although it doesn't have much of a Dungeon Master feel, the controls at the bottom are certainly Dungeon Master-esque, and we can interview the landlord here and try and get information from him. But this game, developed by Libor Andrasek in the Czech Republic, is a Czech game, so unless you speak Czech, you will not be able to understand it. So it looks like it's a great game and very deep, and certainly a lot of questions can be asked to these guys. Certainly that's all we can do at this moment. We can't find any items to pick up, but the main plot is deep and involves moving through an icy forest, and the entrance to the dungeon, as you can see, is in front of me. But as soon as I take a step towards those dungeons, unfortunately the CD that I'm using decided to crash. So whatever that says in the box, it must be a crash message. So let's move on. Let's move on to our next candidate. This is Rise of the Dragon. This was released on the CD-TV in 1991 and was developed by Dynamics. And it comes with an introduction, very slick and smooth, highly reminiscent of graphic novels. So let's check out that intro. So I won't spoil the rest of the fun there with that intro, but basically we play as a detective, and this is our detective flat, and it basically is a bed sit, just enough room for a bed and a sit down, and checking out those cabinets for any early items. We can check out those things, but they are locked unfortunately. But virtually everything else in this room can be interacted with, including the sink. So we can pick items up there and deliver those into our left hand, and we can check out various items. But at the moment I've just climbed out of bed and if you attempt to exit the flat without putting on your clothes, you'll find you are arrested, and it's basically game over. So that didn't quite work out as planned. Let's try that again. And this game loads off a CD, remember? The CD TV was basically an Amiga 500 in a different box. So that's what we're basically getting in the OCS game on a CD. So let's try that again. So back in the flat, the graphics have crashed just a little bit, but never mind, we can take care of that. So by picking up items and dropping them on the silhouette there in the bottom corner, we can drop those onto our person. And from there they go into our personal inventory, which we can access at any time. Let's just check out the bathroom, pick up the first aid kit and an aerosol repellent there. And yes, we can also activate the toilet and the shower. On our personal computer we can play back messages, get messages from the telephone. So let's just eject that disc. That will be our ID card, which we will need on this quest. And before we even begin this, let's put on some clothing. This is our jacket, pretty similar to the one worn in Ridley Scott's Blade Runner movie. And you'll see cyberpunk references throughout this game. So let's not try and put on the coat first of all. Let's put on our trousers and then the coat. And let's just give us the gun as well, because we're going to need that. And what is this? Well, let's check it out. Right click on that, and it appears to be an aerosol protection device. In theory it is supposed to induce a state of extreme euphoria. Yeah, well, we might get to use that, we may not. So let's exit that flat and we can make our way onto the balcony, but there is nothing of use on here as far as I can see. But let's start to appreciate that tremendous atmosphere and those graphics of this game, even though they are drawn on the OCS chipset, of course. They are certainly well drawn. You can see the face there on the bricks. And so from our flat we can access the subway system and access various locations around the city. These will come into play later on, and we can check out the subway at any point, access that subway map. Let's have a look at the Pleasure Dome. And the Pleasure Dome in this case is a palace for people to hang out and drink. So let's see if we can get in there. And it looks as though we have to check in our arms. We can interact with those guys and of course deny them the opportunity should we wish to do so. But I've just tried to give him the gun as requested, and this is in the booth. That's fair enough. So let's put the gun to the woman in the gun collection office, and that doesn't seem to be working either. So I tried to pick that up, and that doesn't work either. So it looks as though I'm supposed to leave that gun on the street. I don't know. Let's just check that out. Drop the gun. And hopefully we can now enter the place. So in here we can start to interview people. We are a detective hot on the trail of a case, and we will need to track down a key man. And reviewing the information on the CD, the computer disk we picked up, that will tell us who we need to track down, and maybe we can get our first leads together. So we can interview these guys and ask them various questions. We can also insult those guys and wind those guys up. So again, the atmosphere in this place, the steampunk kind of futuristic atmosphere really adds to this game, and the hand-drawn graphics there really add to the game. And so let's insult this woman and see what she says. Get a life. Oh dear. Well, that's certainly not one way to get around the ladies. And so the barkeeper there, the barman, doesn't want to give out much information. You're yeah, you're ugly and you smell bad. I think I should have chosen that option. So the sense of humour in this game really comes through, and if you like the spy genre and the searching for items, that kind of point and click adventure, then this is the game for you. The puzzles don't start off to be particularly easy, but maybe once you get a lead on the crime, maybe your detective skills will come into action. But at the moment, we don't seem to be getting anywhere fast, to be honest. So whoever the Jake is, the criminal, the suspect in this case, whoever the Jake is who I need to find, I don't think I'm going to find him very much in this bar. And the ID card there doesn't seem to be any help to the barkeeper, but if you leave items on screen they tend to disappear, as I found out when I tried to pick up my gun. It had disappeared, and so no idea how to get into that place, but still, great graphics, great sound, and you can even change the speed of the text and the details of the graphics on screen, and even the control method, and whatever VCR means I have no idea. You can save it up at any point and restore your game, but let's leave the pleasure dome behind us for the moment. And just before we leave the game completely, I came across this. There is a guy eating a banana on the platform, and he throws the banana skin on the side. Unfortunately, he cannot collect that, but I just thought that was a nice touch. So let's move on. Another game, another point and clicker. This is Metropolis, and this is TeenAgent. And yes, the quality of the graphics do improve from screen to screen, so even though I could have drawn a better van than that, please bear with us, it does get a bit better. In this case, our name is Mark Hopper, and we must infiltrate a spy conspiracy in this game. We have been employed by the head of an organisation called RGB, who you can see we are being interviewed for at the moment. And to gain access to RGB, we must begin the training camp, and once we are employed, we will be sent on a mission. So all we have at the beginning is a pass to the training camp, the boot camp, and that's where we must get to. By clicking the scenery with the left mouse button, we can walk around and check things out, read signs and that kind of thing. And by clicking with the right mouse button, we can exit that room, and we can also look at items and use items. So we don't have much luck exiting that screen. It looks like we must give the pass to the guard. So let's walk over there, and we only have a pass. We must right click on that. It has been given by the IGB chief. Pass and guard, that seems to work. And once again right click the mouse to exit the room. So let's check out this vicinity. This looks like a bar, so this is our first location. Bars seem to be the theme of this video, and this will certainly not be the last tavern we will be visiting in this hour. And the guy doesn't seem to be very helpful because we have no money. So let's check out the scenery. As you can see, the game is well drawn. It is an AGA game. The introduction was very light on the artistic capabilities. The graphic artist has certainly put more time into the game itself, thankfully, and made more use of those 256 AGA colours. So not much we can do in the bar, and we can't get into the back room unfortunately at this period. So I noticed there are some crumbs on that table there. Surely I can pick those up. Anything which highlights there as a name must be a pickable object. No luck with the rest of the items, so let's exit that room and check out the rest of the game. And there seems to be a bin there, so point and click adventures always get players searching in bins, and I found a rope. I mean, who throws a rope in a bin? And now we find ourselves locked in our first room, which requires logical thinking to break out of. And this will test our adventuring skills and is supposed to introduce us to the game lightly. So let's check out a few of those items. The light bulb might come in handy later on. The spider and the spider's web cannot be used. The graffiti cannot be read, but we have managed to find a spring. Might be very handy. And look, there's another trash can. Anything in there? No perfectly good rope in the trash can. The live cable, let's not mess around with that, I don't think, at this stage. And maybe the light switch. But just like every good point and click adventure, the light switch fails to do anything because we've just ripped out the light, basically. So we've switched off the cable, so we should be able to rip that cable down and rig it up, maybe connect it to the rope and do something that way, maybe use the spring to bounce up into the ceiling, maybe well, I'm kind of lost for ideas at this stage, but you can combine items together, of course, by right clicking with one and then left clicking with the other, but at this stage my logic has defeated me. So on to the next game. The next contender. This is Big Red Adventure, brought to the Amiga by Power Computing.
After the downfall of communism, Russia has deeply changed. A new democratic order has brought welfare and freedom. Economic empires have sprung out of nothing, like Vodka Cola, multinational in the sector of carbonated beverages. and Moscow Soft, giants of professional software. Teenagers go wild at the concerts of the Rolling Soviets. And there is somebody who would prefer to go back to the good old days. Comrades, the situation is most serious. The enemies of communism have succeeded to corrupt our youth with their capitalistic enticements. But we will not allow them to triumph. Our plan is now ready, and we will take back our mother Russia to the splendor of the past. And now I am proud to introduce the man who will make all this come true. Dr. Virago. And now, as a basis for the outcome of our plan, we will view a masterpiece of the communist cinematography. Nothing to do with the decadent films that today's youth can see nowadays.
Big Red Adventure was developed by Ludomania, who developed this for the CD-32 in 1995. Unfortunately, the publishers of the game, Core Design, refused to publish it in 95 or 1996, and so the license eventually went to Power Computing in 1997, who released it for the CD-32 in all its 256 colour glory. All the graphics in this game have been created by professional graphic artists, and this really is a graphic adventure when it comes to the sheer detail in these screens. But here we are. Eventually we end up in a hotel room where we can interact with a number of objects, including the TV, a briefcase and a suitcase. And I have no idea what I am supposed to do with this game at the moment, because even though this is supposed to be the English version, somehow it seems to be in a different language, which I cannot read. And there was no options change the language on the title menu that I could find, so let's just persevere anyway. We can check out the luggage we have in that case, and nothing has come to mind. The icon bar that you can see is pretty explanatory. We can open items, we can interact with items with the hand, and inspect items there with the magnifying glass, and no point operating any of those items. I don't think any of those are going to work, but we can lock items there, we can lock the door, we can even post messages under the door. And the other two items on that inventory panel are the briefcase and the suitcase I've just picked up, so you can interact in that way. But let's exit this room and check out the lobby of this hotel. Similarly hand-drawn and scanned in for the finest detail quality possible. The atmosphere of this game is certainly there with the music and the effects. There is no speech, unfortunately, even though this is a CD game, but not that I'd probably be able to understand it. But hopefully there is an option or a key press somewhere that I have missed, so that all you guys can play this and experience a deep point-and-click adventure. But if you expected that to be the winner of the least known graphic adventures, then you'd be wrong, because there is another. This is Wet, the Sexy Empire.
Eigentlich war es ein sicherer Job, da waren wir drei uns einig. Der Sheriff des kleinen Kaffs war zum ersten Mal seit 10 Jahren für eine Woche in Urlaub gefahren und sein vertrottelter Deputy würde uns kaum aufhalten können. Anschließend wollte ich mich mit Betty und unserem Anteil nach Guadeloupe absetzen und Billy hatte wohl auch schon Pläne gemacht. In der kleinen Bankfiliale lief alles glatt. Die Lohngelder der West Buffalo Company schienen nur auf uns zu warten. Die einzige Ausnahme war dieser Sicherheitsbeamte, der den Helden spielen wollte, als wir die Bank verließen. Billy quittierte es mit einer Kugel in seine hohe Stirn. Als sich der vertrottelte Hilfs-Sheriff an unsere Stoßstange heften wollte, stellte er fest, dass jemand seine Reifen fachgerecht mit einem Stilett bearbeitet hatte. 50 Meilen weiter hielten wir auf einem Trampelpfad. Das kalte Metall ihrer 38er verriet mir, dass Betty plötzlich gar keine Lust auf Guadeloupe hatte, sondern viel lieber mit Billy durchbrennen wollte. Bevor ich wieder sprechen konnte, sah ich durch eine Staubwolke die Rücklichter des Wagens.
Hallo, Mister. Darf ich mich zu Ihnen setzen?
Ich hatte nichts dagegen. Allerdings hatte ich nicht erwartet, dass sie sich gleich auf mich setzt. Wow, was für eine Frau. Sie verströmte einen verführerischen Vanilleduft, der mich fast um den Verstand brachte. Was macht ein Mädchen wie du in einem gottverdammten Wüstenkaff wie diesem? Sie hatte ihr Glück in Hollywood gesucht, aber außer ein paar liegenden Rollen auf Produzentenmatratzen waren ihr tiefere Einblicke ins Filmbusiness verwehrt worden.
Dann habe ich mein letztes Geld zusammengekratzt und mir ein Ticket nach Vegas besorgt. Ich habe gehört, dort suchen sie ständig nach Mädchen wie mir.
Nachdem der Greyhound-Bus auf halber Strecke verreckt war, hatte sie hier zwangsläufig einen Zwischenstopp eingelegt.
Wet, the Sexy Empire is a graphic adventure with a difference. Here we find ourselves playing as a prostitute, hot on the trail of a bank robber, and it's her job to find out all the information she can about that crime in whatever means necessary. We get to inhabit a very small town, inhabited by the dregs of society, and we can use our persuasive ways on the inhabitants of that town to give us the information we need. Progress in this game is measured in actual game days, so you'll find the days getting lighter and darker as time progresses, and you can see the sunrise there. And so let's check out the cafe and interview these guys. I've obviously no idea what any of these guys will be saying during this part of the review, but I'm sure it's highly amusing and apt for this genre. So this is our suspect, and we can find out through whatever means where he might be. And yet again, no idea what I'm clicking on, but you can interact with the scenery, and the graphics are super hand-drawn graphics in full 256 colours. And unfortunately this was only available in Germany at the time and is very rare, and so that's why it basically wins. So let's have a look at a few more shops. We can hire camera equipment for late night surveillance, and you can certainly buy that or hire that, and all those other take snapshots and that kind of thing for evidence. And so we can place cameras in certain spots to capture evidence. And having no luck at the moment, I think we should earn some money before we try to buy anything. But when we have the money, we can buy things. We can also check out the jail, and we really don't want to be in this place very often, but this might be where we end up if we take one step too many. And what else? We can earn money the easy way. There are clients available on street corners that we can make use of and maybe get information out of when you join up and get together with these guys. And as you explore the game, more locations will open up and the mystery hopefully will be revealed. And in the meantime, I'm not getting anywhere, as you can see, but this is probably the best shop in the entire town. In this department you will find all the accessories any good girl of the night needs to perpetuate her wares. So in here we can buy all kinds of things, nipple rings, dildos, you name it. And I don't have to speak German to understand what half of those mean. So those will add extra value to our appeal, and so we should be able to earn extra cash by making use of those, plus Special clients might require special items to be combined with those to come to some kind of satisfactory conclusion. And we also have a motel room where we can deliver our guests and conduct interviews. Unfortunately, the manager seems to have committed all 7 deadly sins in one night, and that's why they're called deadly sins, because you will end up like that. But check this out.
Was den Banküberfall auf die Filiale der Honey Money Bank in Saltonville angeht, tappt die Polizei noch immer im Dunkeln. Der Wachmann, der bei seinem Versuch, die 3 Täter aufzuhalten, einen Kopfschuss erlitt, ist auf dem Weg ins Krankenhaus gestorben. Der Deputy von Saltonville konnte auch keine weiterführenden Angaben zu den Bankräubern machen. Nach wie vor fehlt jegliche Spur von den Tätern und ihrer Beute in Höhe von $600.000. Inzwischen wurde das FBI eingeschaltet.
Because the game runs in computer time, you will gain regular updates as to where the criminals might be and clues on the news. So that just gives you an idea of the depth of that game. On to the next category, we've reached number 4. And let's dive in straight to the bottom. This is Boppin, released on the CD-32 in 1992. And this game, even though it was released on the CD-32, has terrible graphics, terrible sound, terrible playability, terrible handling, terrible control, terrible lastability, terrible playability, and terrible longevity. So that just gives you an idea of how I feel about this game, but it is rare, so let's get in there and get past that copy protection. And look at this, another space intro. Well, that intro may have been hand-drawn, but for all of the wrong reasons, and the intro is certainly the best part about the game, and, well, the Mario character in the intro is the best part about the game, and all you have to do is to collect items and deliver them from one side of the screen to the other, and to match items up, and matching a number of items up will make those disappear. You can raise and lower the platforms there, and from the top of that building you can also raise a ramp, a lift to take you to the top of that building for no use whatsoever. So you combine items and that releases a bug in the game, and then you go back and pick up another item. As you can see, I apologise for the sound quality, the sound capture. This was captured during a period when I didn't realise the sound was a problem on the emulator, but that has been fixed, and that unfortunately doesn't make the game any better. It just makes the sound even more dire than it was originally. But as you can see, match a few items together and they disappear, and walk and walk. And apparently the character can walk faster than that. It's probably because this WHD load version isn't compatible with the old 60, so you can imagine the character walking much more quickly than that. And I've speeded up to emulate that fact. And although the surround borders and the graphics might look arcadey and fun, and 2-player action can be adopted on this game to compete head to head should the player want to do that, but this is not a CD-32 game which shows off the Kiko enhanced chipset or the 256 colours or the high resolutions. And I was so bored by this point that when that failed to activate, I switched that off. Our next game is a conversion of the arcade game Puzzle Bobble, which was originally developed by Taito and released in 1994. If you hadn't heard of Puzzle Bobble before, that's because it was known as Bust a Move outside of Japan, and in the American and European community on the Xbox and the PlayStation, which is where I played it, it was certainly known as Bust a Move. So here's the options screen. We get a number of options to configure the game and turn off the music and that kind of thing, but let's just ignore those and jump into the game itself. So anyone who's played Puzzle Bobble or Bust a Move will be instantly familiar with the puzzle element on offer in this game. All we have to do is to fire the appropriate colour into the colours on the screen and they will disappear. And you must match 3 of those to make them disappear, and they will rebound off the sides of the screen and that kind of thing. Unfortunately that didn't work very well on that play, and a pathetic score there. Let's just try it again. It should be very easy, but I'm not finding it particularly easy. It all depends where you blow those bubbles in this case, and if you get the right colours for the right job you can accomplish the job. If you don't, then you run out of time and it's game over. So let's just get rid of that and show you a better example. This is Bubble Heroes. So this game came out in 2000, the year before Puzzle Bobs, and a full 6 years after Puzzle Bobble made it massive in Japan. But you can see the options are fewer than our previous candidate, but that's not such a bad thing because the game in every respect is better. We can even choose to play as Deathmatch mode or Championship mode, but for this we will select the Story mode and check out the story and the single player introduction. bubble heroes, we get to choose from 3 characters, a frog, and a lady, and a gentleman, each of which is supposed to have their own stats, but really each of which makes absolutely no difference on the game whatsoever, but certainly introduces an extra element to the presentation of this game. So for this I will choose the frog player. His name is Gupachi and he's supposed to be a prince, so let's see if he can use any of his princely abilities in this game. And we also get to choose which level that we should start on. I'm going to choose the forest island, as that seems to be easier than the ice world. So this game is loading from a CD, don't forget, so I apologise for the loading screens, but you can check out those 256 colours already, and we haven't even joined the game. So waiting for this thing to load, that is absolutely nothing inconvenient whatsoever, because we know we're going to get to play a great experience. So this game is probably the best Bust a Move conversion on the Amiga, and the Amiga was probably one of the few platforms that didn't get Bust a Move when it was released. 1994 would have been late in the Amiga's development, but the game, as you've probably played already, is highly playable, and it follows the exact same format. All we have to do is link 3 or 4 colours together, and as soon as the last bubble hits, the entire lot will disappear, and any of the bubbles below the ones that we trigger will also be activated and fall off the screen. So I'm hoping to get a blue one there, hit 3 together, and I can't use the green one because the green is buried, but I can certainly use these other colours to my advantage, and that allows me to use the blue ball to trigger those blue balls down, and that saves me a lot of time and energy trying to remove the rest. Just like all the other versions, the platform will lower itself given a time limit, and you can see those cogs rolling down from the top there, so that gives us time enough to complete the level. And you can see the graphics, even the clouds in the backgrounds move there, so it gives the overall feel of the game a tremendous edge, particularly over the previous candidate. Certainly the music and the effects add to this game and the overall polish. So it won't be too long now before I find 3 of the correct balls to clear the screen. Well done. And on to the next level, where we find more of the same. So there is probably a route and a formula to complete these levels, and it all depends on the player's skill to fire that thing in a trajectory that hits the target. If you miss that, then you will be unfortunately delayed in your task of completing the screen. But at this stage, the screens are pretty easy, and it might even be possible to memorise a route through these levels because they will not appear at random. These are playing levels. This is the story mode, don't forget, so these are pre-programmed levels. And there aren't that many bugs in the game, but we will certainly be uncovering a bug a bit later on, because as this timer ticks down to the bottom, and as the screen clears of colours, then the only colours that should emerge from that gun are the colours on screen. So I'm basically down to the red, the yellow and the blue, and all I have to do is match those 3 together. It's not particularly easy. There's always a spanner in the works, and so we are now down to the red and the yellow, and it's difficult enough. All I need is a yellow, but all I have is a red. Now all I need is a red, but all I have is a yellow, and vice versa. So that isn't particularly a favourable item to find in the game, but you cannot complete a level simply because it won't give you enough balls to complete the level, and try as I might there, it's just not giving me enough, and I died. So that's why this game basically is the runner-up of this section, and it was hard enough finding good puzzle games to feature in this section. Let's have a look at the extra sequence. It looks like we've fallen into the clutches of the Dark Lord himself. Oh, look it. certainly games such as this really benefit from two-player action. So let's restart the game again and check out the two-player mode, and the players must use joystick or keys for this, and you can even play as death matches against your friends, and in a team challenge as well you can have numbers of players playing together in rounds. So for this we'll select the frog, and let's select Nico-chan, which is the female character. So I hope you can see from this limited demonstration that despite bugs in the game, certainly one of those is a game breaker. The graphics, the sound, the playability is all top notch, highly polished, and certainly the best one to check out if gamers wish to check out a Bust a Move clone on the Amiga. It's probably the only one to check out as far as I'm concerned. So this is it, the two-player mode, and similar action, only this time you get to play with a friend, and they have to get the colours in the right order. And you play in rounds, of course, so once one player gets to the bottom of the screen and loses, the player will win the round. And winner! There you go. So let's continue with that play and see if we can get any further with this, and see if we can beat the opponent. And so I hope you can see from these graphics what a superb game this is, and it's pity that the player can't use a mouse to control the game. A mouse control option would have been handy, but I didn't spot that on the menu. You've tasted my nails. Well, nails don't taste of anything really, they are made of keratin. But anyway, on to the next game. This is the winner of the puzzle category of the top 10 games you've never heard of, and it's called Virtual Ball Fighters, developed by the X Team, released in 2000, and the X Team were an Italian team, Italian developers, and they released this product through Epic Marketing and Isolona. So this game does come with a little intro, a few intro screens, so let's take a look. Let's just keep this rolling a while, because there are one or two pictures at the end of this montage that I'd like you to see. So virtual ball fighters might not appear on the surface to be very rare to some people. I've certainly come across previews of this game in Amiga magazines, and at least one magazine reviewed it, but it was released very late in the Amiga's lifetime, and it certainly is rare to pick this game up on CD, which is where I'm attempting to play it from at the moment. This game certainly requires the AGA chipset, at least 8 megabytes of RAM, and also requires a hefty CPU. An all-40 or an all-60 is probably recommended for this game, and if you have a graphics card you can use RTG retargetable graphics, and we can adjust a few of the options in the game, the sound, the graphics, and even the refresh rate as well. So we'll leave that on 50 frames per second, and even the priority of the game, you can even quit back to Workbench at any point, so that gives you some idea of the Workbench usability. But let's jump in. into the story mode, and this game gives you even more modes available: battle mode, time mode, death matches. But as I say, let's get on with the story mode to introduce us to the one-player experience. And even though this is a one-player story mode game, we still get to choose our virtual ball fighter. We have a girl named Alice, a tree named Cortez, an octopus named Taco, and a penguin named Pedro. So let's select Alice for this experiment and kick off.
Alice versus Little Iron. Round 1. Get ready. Fight.
In this game, we are given a number of colours, and all we must do is match 3 of the same colours, and they will disappear off the screen. It's a bit like Tetris meets Connect 4, and when the player presses the fire button, they can swap their colours like traffic lights, so that the correct colours are at the bottom or at the top or in the middle, whichever is the most appropriate. And 3 colours matched in a line, whether horizontally, vertically or diagonally, will make those balls disappear off the screen. And just to make things just a little bit more interesting, there is a time limit, and even in the one-player mode we also have to fight against the computer player. If the computer scores more than we do, then the computer wins. So even single-player experience is a full one-on-one multiplayer experience. And you can even see energy bars there moving up and down. Player 1's energy and player 2's energy, as indicated by the red bar in the centre, is moving down. That will be increased if I score a hit over him, or decreased if the robot, in this case, scores over me. And so the energy is going down, and so is the time. And you might also notice letters on some of those balls as well. We gain those letters, we gain extra bonus items and extra credit for those. So it looks like the computer is actually leading me at the moment, and so I'm going to have to pull out something really special to match these things up and to get a win. The backgrounds, as well as the characters themselves, are all rendered in 3D using Lightwave and other Amiga specific software, so the backgrounds do change from level to level to add to the theme of each match, and they are all well crafted and designed, so that ray tracing really adds to the quality of this game.
Time up. Player 1 wins. Alice versus Alice.
In this match it looks like I've been paired with myself, Alice versus Alice. So let's check that out. This time it's a city landscape, maybe not as well rendered as the previous one. And you can see on the far right it has crashed, but that's because these games are hell on wheels sometimes to get running on this hardware, and sometimes they just don't work. But ignore that crash, as that was probably something to do with my emulator. You can see the playability of this game, and the sound and the music are all top notch.
Player 1
The
wins.
developers were Italian, but this game feels more Mexican or Spanish to me with those players' names.
Alice versus Cortez. Round 1. Get ready. Fight.
And this is my final battle. This is Cortez, the tree, and looking like a cartoon character, but it shouldn't be long for the average player to pick up this game, and the longevity again is enhanced by 2 players playing this together, or team matches or death matches, kind of thing. And the points really rack up there if you get lots of multiples and score bonuses.
Player 2 wins.
That's the end of that round, and it looks like I have been defeated. So thank you for viewing the second part of my guide to the top 10 Amiga games you've never even heard of. We've certainly saved the best till last, so I hope you can join me in part 3 coming soon.